Hi submarine friends, I'm very relieved to say I finally have a steering solution for my diesel electric submarine. So this morning I experimented with a power steering pump to send oil into a double acting valve, which then sends oil to the hydraulic motor that steers the submarine. I had a big disaster. One of the hoses on my temporary setup popped off and sprayed my whole area here with Dextron fluid, so that really sucked to clean up. But anyways, what I have now, back to the power steering, that pump is actually pretty noisy. I'm surprised how noisy it is. I don't like that. I don't want to create unnecessary noise in the submarine. I've got enough noise to deal with. So it generated heat. It was getting quite warm. I was really surprised about that. So anyways, I've gone back to this 4 gallon per minute gear pump that I have, and I've just got my DeWalt drill on it, and I have an RPM gauge from my antique engine days. And so what I've determined is when I run it I can run it at 1500 RPM before it starts to load up. And I think that's probably because I have the 1/4 inch line right here. So when I set this up, I'll have nice big 1/2 inch lines for when it's free flowing through the valve and back to the tank. I'm just going to use this little bottle here that I've converted into a tank. I don't need a large oil reservoir because the motor is going to be submerged in cold water and it works intermittently. So really, I think you need 1 gallon of oil reservoir for each gallon per minute of flow, something like that. But I'm not worried about that because the motor is, like I said, cooled in the water. So if I can run this at 1000 RPM, which is a 2-to-1 reduction off my crankcase or off my engine crank, then I'll be golden. So now, tomorrow, I will start installing all this stuff. I'll hook this pump up to the engine. The only time I need this steering is at the surface when the engine is running. That's why I don't need to use an electric hydraulic pump, because it only works at the surface. When I submerge, the submarine goes all electric, and it is steered by controlling thrust on each side of the submarine. So one motor on, one motor off, and then the submarine turns. That's how all the small personal submarines work. So once I submerge, it's just like every other P-sub, and on the surface it's a diesel sub. So I'm really pleased about this because I've been scratching my head, and this is actually what I wanted to do originally when I was designing the sub, but I had an idea of not using a hydraulic valve. I was simply going to reverse the motor. So you turn the motor one direction, rudder moves one way, turn the motor the other direction, rudder moves the other way. But that has some complications with getting rid of air pockets in the system. So this is fine. This nice little aluminum air tank here weighs nothing, or oil tank, weighs nothing. It's nice and small, compact. I can just make a bracket for it, install it, put a filtered vent on it. Bob's your uncle. I am going to go away from the Dextron 2 oil though, because I don't like the smell of that oil. I'm just going to go to a hydraulic fluid. This pump is very forgiving. It's a gear pump. You could put pretty much anything in it. So I'll just go to a nice hydraulic oil, and that won't be so smelly. So I'm very pleased again. So tomorrow we start installing all this. Ciao.